Oh, hey, it's 2 days before Christmas and I'm wrapping my wife's presents. Yes, it's socks, but it's what she asked for. And no, I'm not cheap. Hey, that's not even why you're here. You're here to talk about some alternatives to art education, like videos. So let's get to it. Okay, let's talk about art education. How do you get better? You get better certainly from practice, but who's going to help you to do that? And there's a couple of ways I think is how I categorize education for art, or painting in particular. There's three ways that you can get external education. And first of those is formal education. I went to a 4-year art college. I took the classes. You get one-on-one help from the professor. It's very regimented. You get assignments. You have to turn them in on time. You get graded on them. You get critiques from the students. You get critique from the professor. And so, very good education, but could be very expensive. And some have spoken about, hey, do I really get the return on investment for art college? Number two would be workshops. You can go, if you find a painter that you admire and you'd like to learn more and watch how he or she paints, fantastic. And they offer workshops. You can go to one of those workshops and you'll be you and a small group of people, and usually somewhere between 2 to 5 days in this workshop. You'll bring materials or purchase materials there. You get to paint, you get to watch the demos, you get to talk to the professor. Fantastic. There's one artist, I think her name's Paige Thomson. Her whole education is workshops, and she is a phenomenal painter, and she did it through workshops. Number three, and it's the reason that's what I want to talk about today, is really digital video disc or DVDs. And so I have 10 of them here that I have purchased. And let me talk about the pros and cons really of a DVD. The pro, of course, is you have it forever. Once you get that DVD, you have it and you can watch it and you get a front row seat. Unlike maybe at a workshop, disclaimer here, I've never taken a workshop. So with the formal education, none DVDs, but no workshops. But at a workshop, what I assume happens, it's a group of people. You see them typically in a semicircle around the artist as he or she paints the demo, and then they work on the painting, their own paintings, and the artist will come around and give them tips, and which is fantastic. One-on-one with the artist of your choice that you admire. For a DVD, you get a front row seat and you get to see the things that he or she paints. You hear the artist talk about the decisions that they're making. You get to see the other materials. You get to see close-ups of their palette and how they mix and why they mix. And I think a DVD gives you access that perhaps a workshop wouldn't give you to the demo portion of that workshop. Doesn't necessarily get you the feedback from the artist, but it certainly gives you that front row seat for the demo. The negative is that you don't get to communicate with the artist at the time. And when we talk about choosing an artist that you want to learn more about, it's not that you want to paint exactly like them, but you want to know what they know. You're never going to paint exactly like them because you are your own individual. In your mind, in your hand, in your brush, you'll change it, but DVD for me was a great way for me to learn what they know and what they want to share on DVD, and then I can go back and look at it. So here's some videos that I've purchased, and I'll talk to them about them very briefly, but you can see the progress, and I think this is the order that I purchased them. My first one I ever purchased was Ken Auster's Street Scenes. And Ken Auster is no longer with us, but I get to see Ken paint and hear what he thinks about. And the first time I ever watched him paint, it kind of blew my mind. My idea of how you painted was different than the way he painted. And I really learned a lot, and I've been back time and time again to look at that DVD by Ken Auster. So completely plein air over a course of a few hours, and it's edited, but you get to watch him do that. Number two, going to the same idea of cityscapes, And then the urban landscape. This is Scott W. Pryor. He went out, shoots his reference photos, comes back, and he worked off, in this case, he worked off a computer monitor as he painted the urban landscape, or this trolley car in San Francisco. And I like urban painting. I like this. I like painting the neighborhoods and streets. And so this is, you can see, this was at the time what was intriguing me. And the way that Scott painted is different than the way Ken Auster painted. And so now I've learned from two painters that are very successful how they did it. Which brings me to Thomas Kegler. Now, Thomas Kegler's a plein air painter, and I got this from his website. And he went out plein air painting over successive days, and totally different process that either of the first two guys had used. And so you glean those pieces from what he did, and it really, I think, magnifies parts of your own style. So I learned quite a bit from Thomas Kegler. I'm not saying I use it all, but I learned and understood application of paint and why he made the decisions that he made. So, fantastic DVD. Now, Bryan Mark Taylor, once back to this idea of cityscapes, he paints this scene in San Francisco and shows how he goes about choosing the subject matter, why he lays down the paint that he lays down, how he builds atmospheric perspective. Learned techniques in here. Got to see him use techniques in here that were not used in the previous videos. So once again, a really impressive person, Bryan Mark Taylor. So impressive, so that I purchased this video by him about the master's mind, and he goes into learning and how we do highly focused training for short periods of time, but how that helps you learn quicker in the long run. So it's practicing well. It's not just practicing, but it's practicing correctly. And so I was very interested how to achieve greater returns of investment of my time and how they would show up in my paintings. So very valuable. I would recommend it, as well as all the videos I'm going to show you here. They all have their own purpose. Then, for business, I had to go out to the Monterey Bay area in California, and I really like Brian Blood and his paintings. So he and his wife have a studio in Carmel, California, and I called up the studio, not expecting him to answer, but just expecting a person to answer about, I was going to ask, is the studio open? So he answers the phone. I said, is this Brian? He goes, yeah. And I said, hey, introduce myself. He did not know who I was. Probably still doesn't, except the guy that came by. And I said, hey, I'd like to come by and I'd like to, check out the studio. He goes, yeah, come on by. I got there, so gracious. He actually took his time. I think I spent about an hour and a half talking to him. He showed me where he paints. He showed me some of his paintings. And I ended up buying his studio painting secrets. And the way that he does things in the studio is different than the way I had seen anybody else do it. So learned quite a bit. And great painter, great painting DVD, and learned a lot from it. Then this guy that I'm going to talk about, Kevin Corder, he painted these cypress trees, and I kind of like tonalist, the tonalist tradition, and just fantastic how he got this color up in the trees. And so I bought this DVD just to find his method of how did he get these paintings, paint these colors and things, cotton swabs. So anyway, fantastic video. Learned quite a bit. Now, I know a lot of people talk about painting from photographs. Well, why not get a video on painting from photographs? Shelby Keefe, painting from photographs, is a great video because she shows how she interprets the photograph, how she crops it, how she took her own photograph and how she worked from it, and the decisions that she made in order to bring out things in the photograph and then diminish other things in the photograph. Just a great way of working through and seeing her process. So really enjoyed that DVD. And I'm interested in painting nocturnes. have not. I painted one. I can probably see it in the back with the McDonald's arches. I painted that one. The guy next door is edging. He never edges, but now he wants to edge. One of the people that I think is probably one of the great nocturne painters currently, and that's Carl Bretzke. And he does this Painting the Night DVD, and in it he does 2 different demonstrations of painting a nocturne. And he talks about several things, and some of it's the chromatic lighting around a light source during his painting, and you get to see how he handles it and changes that he makes. No painting is perfect right off the brush, and he shows how he makes some changes. It's very valuable. He talks about his setup, when he goes, what he does for safety, all kinds of things about how he paints a nocturne. So very valuable, and enjoyed it immensely. And finally, Peter Fiore, or Fiore. Peter doesn't know me, so I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his name, but he painted this painting, River Bend, and he advertised it or talked about it on his website. I follow him. Fantastic painter. I like the vibe you get from him. I love to hear him speak about painting. He is a painter's painter. It reminds me very much of my painting professor from college that I'm now very good friends with. And so he painted this painting, he did a 2 DVD set of the painting. And he goes through his entire process, how he sets up his palette, how he uses his brushes, never throws a brush away. But it really opened my mind to a whole host of things about how to scrape back and go back into, and it's just phenomenal. And so I highly recommend that video if you can get it. And I would love to do a demo, or not a demo. I'd love to do just a breakdown review on any one of these DVDs if you're interested. Let me know down in the comments if you'd like to see that, and any questions about the DVDs. I'd say, so these are 10 DVDs that I've talked about. Oh, let me mention this real quick. Aaron Westerberg did a online video through Stan Prokopenko, goes by Proko. And he did a video series that was available online, and it was phenomenal. Everything from choosing his model, shooting the reference photo, doing his drawing, doing his color study, mixing his paints, application of paint. It was fantastic series. I think all in all it was like 6 hours. And they ran a special, and these are the kind of things you have to look out for, but he ran this special, I think it was like $99. So valuable, and so now I have it. Downloaded it onto my hard drive, downloaded it onto my iPad. I have taken it with me on vacation, and when I get some time, I watch it and rewatch it. And so just a great resource, and great resources out there in the form of DVDs and videos. So I highly encourage you to check those out. If you find an artist that you'd like to know more about what they know, then DVDs are a great source. So, hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned a lot. Sorry you didn't get something more dynamic to look at, but very valuable. Let me know in the description down below if you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions. I'd be more than happy to answer them. Give me some suggestions about future videos that you would like to see. So, until next time, thanks so much. I appreciate you sticking around. Bye-bye.